Then my husband, Logan, laughed. In front of 25 relatives. My name is Skylar Carlisle. I'm 32. Have you ever sat at a table surrounded by people who are supposed to be your family, listening to them laugh at the worst accusation anyone could throw at you, while the one person who should protect you joins in? That's exactly what happened that night. She has a secret, Logan said. That was the moment they thought I would break. What they didn't know was that I had spent 3 months preparing for that exact moment, with DNA results, with evidence, with something in my purse that was about to change everything. Before I take you back, if this story resonates with you, and wherever you're watching from, I always read them. Now let me show you where all of this really began. From the outside, my marriage to Logan Carlisle looked perfect. We had a beautiful home in Westchester County, stable careers, and after 2 years of trying, we finally had our miracle baby, our daughter, Aria. But there was always something beneath the surface, a quiet tension that never really left. Her name was Victoria Carlisle, my mother-in-law. From the very beginning, Victoria made one thing very clear. I was never the woman she wanted for her son. Such a shame, she would sigh at every family gathering, just loud enough for everyone to hear. Chloe Bennett just closed on another property. That girl has vision. Chloe Bennett was the daughter of Victoria's business partner, 29, polished, beautiful, a luxury real estate agent who moved through rooms like she belonged in them. Victoria treated her like the daughter she should have had, and I was constantly reminded of it. At Thanksgiving. Chloe just closed a $3.2 million penthouse deal. How's your accounting job going, Skylar? At Christmas. Chloe is hosting a charity gala next month, the kind of event that actually matters. Even at my own baby shower, Chloe would have done something far more elegant. This is sweet. Quaint. That was the word she liked. Logan never defended me, not once. He would stare at his plate, or change the subject, or wait until we were alone to say the same thing every time. Mom just has high standards. Don't take it personally. But how do you not take it personally when someone criticizes everything about you? My cooking, my job, my body, just weeks after giving birth. Chloe maintains her figure so well, Victoria said 3 weeks postpartum, looking me up and down. Pilates every morning at 6. And the worst part? Victoria didn't just have opinions, she had control. The kind that shaped everything around her. She owned 18 rental properties across New York and Connecticut. She controlled the Carlisle family trust. Every major decision in Logan's life passed through her first. Our mortgage? She co-signed. His promotion at Sterling Infrastructure Group? Her connections made it happen. Very little in our lives was ever truly ours. I thought things might change after Aria was born. I was wrong. They didn't get better, they got worse. The shift in Logan started slowly. About 3 months after Aria came into the world, he began staying late at work. Really late. Big project, he would say, barely looking at me. But when he came home, I could smell her perfume. Victoria's. They were having dinners together, meetings I wasn't invited to. You used to care more about how you looked, he said one morning, watching me feed Aria in a milk-stained shirt. Chloe stopped by the office yesterday. She always looks put together. Chloe, at his office. Since when? The first real crack came on a random afternoon. I needed to call Aria's pediatrician. My phone had died, so I picked up Logan's. A message popped up, from Victoria. She's letting herself go, sweetheart. Aria deserves better. Think about what we discussed. My fingers went cold as I scrolled. Logan. I'm starting to see your point about Skylar. Victoria. The baby doesn't even have your eyes. Blue eyes? Where did those come from? Logan. I've been wondering the same thing. Victoria. Chloe would never put you in a position like this. I just sat there, reading it over and over. My husband, the man who held my hand through 18 hours of labor, who cried when Aria was born, was questioning whether she was his, with his mother. like I was some stranger who had tricked him. That night, I tried to talk to him, carefully. "Is everything okay? You feel distant," he snapped. "God, Skylar, why are you always like this? Can't I work without being interrogated?" But I saw it. The guilt. The way he avoided looking at Arya. The way he had started sleeping on the couch, claiming she kept him up, even though she had been sleeping through the night for weeks. Something was breaking, and Victoria was the one swinging the hammer. The truth finally showed itself on a Tuesday afternoon. Logan left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. He never did that. An email notification appeared. The subject line made my chest tighten. Chloe timeline, confidential. I should have walked away. I didn't. The email thread stretched back 2 months, and as I read, my hands began to shake. Victoria had laid everything out, like a business plan. Phase 1. Create doubt about the baby's paternity. Plant it subtly during family gatherings. Phase 2. Increase contact between Logan and Chloe. Make it look natural. Phase 3. After a public confrontation at the birthday party, file for divorce citing infidelity. Phase 4. A $750,000 payout upon finalization. Chloe's family would match it, bringing the total to $1.5 million for Logan's fresh start. $1.5 million. That was the price. On my marriage. On my reputation. On my daughter's future. But the worst part wasn't the plan. It was Logan's reply. The money would fix everything. Arya could go to the best schools no matter who she really belongs to. Skylar will get standard support. Everyone wins. Everyone wins. I remember sinking to the kitchen floor, the laptop still in my hands, scrolling through everything. Screenshots. Messages between Victoria and Diane Bennett. Wire transfers into an escrow account. Even a draft custody agreement that positioned Logan for full custody, based on my suspected infidelity. They had built the entire story. All they needed was the performance. At my daughter's birthday, I forwarded every file to a private email, then I erased any trace that I had seen it. My mind was racing. If I confronted them now, they would deny everything, delete the evidence, turn me into the paranoid wife. No, that wouldn't work. I needed something they couldn't twist. Something undeniable. Something public. Something that would destroy their version of the story in front of everyone they were trying to impress. And in that moment, I knew exactly what I was going to do. That night, I lay awake staring at Arya's crib in the corner of our bedroom. My beautiful girl. She had Logan's nose and my grandmother's blue eyes. Yes, my grandmother's eyes, the kind that skip generations and reappear when no one expects them. I kept thinking about what would happen if I stayed silent. What kind of life would she grow up in? She would hear the whispers. Is she really Logan's? Children repeat what they hear at home. Parents gossip behind closed doors, and those words always find their way into classrooms, onto playgrounds. Every achievement she had would be questioned, every feature analyzed, every smile compared. The doubt Victoria was planting wouldn't disappear. It would follow her, quietly, constantly, like a shadow she could never step out of. And Logan? He would marry Chloe within a year. I could already see it. Victoria's perfect wedding at Westchester Country Club. Chloe in a designer gown that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Smiling, elegant, approved. And my daughter, calling another woman mom every other weekend. If she even got weekends. Because I had seen the custody draft. I knew exactly how that part was going to end. And me? I would become the woman who cheated on Logan Carlisle, the one who tried to pass off another man's child as his. Victoria would make sure that version of the story spread everywhere. At work, they wouldn't say it out loud. They would just quietly let me go. Budget restructuring. Department changes. But everyone would know. I sat there in the dark for a long time. Then I reached for my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and stopped at a name I hadn't touched in years. Dr. Hannah Brooks, my college roommate, now the director of genetics at Massachusetts General Hospital. One of the most respected voices in her field. I hesitated for a second, then called. Hannah, I said quietly when she answered. I need your help, and it has to stay completely confidential. Skylar, what's going on? You don't sound okay. I swallowed. Can you run a paternity test? There was a pause. A legal one, I added. Documented, airtight. Another beat of silence. Then she said calmly, Yes. When do you need it? Tomorrow. Over the next 3 months, I became someone quieter and far more deliberate. I smiled, I cooked, I showed up to family dinners, and behind all of it, I built something they wouldn't see coming. Hannah fast-tracked the test through official channels. Everything is fully documented, she told me. Chain of custody, video verification, triple confirmation. This will hold up anywhere, court included. The results came back exactly as I already knew they would, 99.99%. Logan was Arya's father, without question, without doubt, but proving that wasn't enough. Not anymore. So I kept going. I hired a lawyer, quietly, paid in cash, small amounts, taken from grocery money over weeks, so nothing would raise suspicion. Lauren Hayes, a family attorney known for handling high-conflict cases. Document everything, she told me during our first meeting. Screenshots, recordings if they're legal. Build your case before they even realize there's a case. And I did, methodically, without missing anything. Every message between Logan and Victoria, every comment she made at Sunday dinners, every financial document Logan left out carelessly, showing transfers into accounts he never explained. I captured it all, piece by piece, until the pattern was impossible to deny, until I had something they couldn't twist or escape. A file that could tear their entire story apart. 6 weeks before Arya's birthday, the invitations went out. Victoria insisted on hosting it at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. Only the best for my granddaughter, she said, though her smile never reached her eyes when she looked at Arya. 25 guests confirmed, both sides of the family, Logan's colleagues, and of course, Chloe. Victoria made sure she was on the list. It's going to be perfect, she told me, patting my hand like I was a child. Everyone who matters will be there. I smiled and nodded, because she was right. Everyone who mattered would be there. And they were all going to see the truth. The countdown began. 3 weeks, then 2, then 1. And through it all, I played my role without a single mistake. The loving wife, the grateful daughter-in-law, the woman who had no idea what was coming. They had no idea what I had prepared. The ballroom shimmered that night, gold everywhere, a towering 3-tier cake, crystal centerpieces that practically screamed money. Arya, dressed in a tiny white outfit, laughed in my arms, completely unaware of the tension tightening around us. 25 guests took their seats. Victoria had arranged everything carefully. Chloe was placed directly across from Logan. I was moved to the far end of the table, supposedly to stay close to Arya's chair. Victoria arrived 30 minutes late. Of course, she always did, making her entrance in a dress that probably cost more than our car. Chloe walked in beside her, wearing a striking red cocktail dress, flawless as always. They greeted everyone with air kisses. Then Victoria gestured toward the table. Chloe, dear, sit next to Logan. You two have so much to catch up on. Logan didn't hesitate. He pulled out her chair, smiling. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen directed at me in months. They leaned in close almost immediately, talking about some investment deal. Too close. Doesn't Chloe look absolutely radiant tonight? Victoria announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. Such a successful young woman. You just closed another deal, didn't you? Chloe smiled modestly. $3.2 million deal. Soft gasps, murmurs of admiration. I caught Megan Foster's eye across the table. She gave me a small, sympathetic look. But like everyone else, she stayed silent. No one ever challenged Victoria. Some women just have that rare combination, Victoria continued, her gaze drifting toward me. Beauty, Intelligence, breeding. It's not something you see often these days. I adjusted Arya in her seat, my movements calm, my hands steady, even though something inside me was burning. 3 months. Dozens of documents. Every step had led here. The appetizers were cleared, the main course was served, and right on cue. Victoria stood. She tapped her glass lightly. The room fell quiet. "Before we celebrate my granddaughter's first birthday," she said slowly, her voice carrying across the room, "there's something I feel needs to be addressed." The room went completely still. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Conversations died mid-sentence. "Just look at this beautiful child," Victoria said, gesturing toward Arya like she was presenting evidence instead of her own granddaughter. "Such unusual features. Those blue eyes. Unexpected, don't you think? The Carlyle family has had brown eyes for 5 generations." She smiled faintly. "Genetics can be fascinating." A few people shifted uncomfortably. From somewhere down the table, a quiet voice spoke up. Skylar's grandmother had blue eyes. It was barely enough to interrupt the tension. Victoria turned, her expression sharpening. "Did she?" she said, her tone laced with disbelief. "How convenient to remember that now." She stepped closer to Arya's chair, leaning in slightly, studying her like she was inspecting something that didn't quite belong. "And her nose, her chin," she continued slowly. "I've gone through our family photos. I just don't see my son in this child." That was when it started. The whispers, soft at first, then spreading. I caught fragments drifting through the room. "Strange. Doesn't look like him. Something feels off." Across the table, one of Logan's cousins had already pulled out his phone, probably searching inheritance patterns like that would somehow justify what was happening. "Victoria," Richard Carlyle, my father-in-law, said quietly, his voice low but firm. "This isn't appropriate." She turned on him immediately. "Isn't it?" she shot back. "When family legacy is involved? When my son's entire future could be built on a lie?" Chloe leaned forward slightly, her voice smooth, carefully measured. "That must be incredibly difficult," she said, almost sympathetically. "Not knowing for sure." This was the moment. The moment Logan should have stood up, should have shut it down, should have protected his wife, his daughter. Instead, he sat there, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the table, saying nothing. "Some women," Victoria continued, now fully addressing the room, "will do anything to secure their place, even trap a good man with a child that might not even be his." "Mom's not wrong," Logan said suddenly. His voice cut through the room like glass. My chest tightened. He stood slowly. And then, his hand rested lightly on Chloe's shoulder. Not casually, deliberately, and everyone saw it. "I've been thinking about this for a while," he said, his tone calm, almost rehearsed. "The timing of Arya's conception, it lines up with that conference Skylar went to in Boston." I couldn't move. I just stood there watching him dismantle me piece by piece. "She was gone for 3 days," he continued, avoiding my eyes. "Came back different, happier than usual. And then suddenly, she's pregnant." Victoria let out a soft, dramatic gasp. "Oh, Logan." "And the eyes," he added, a smile creeping across his face. Then he laughed, actually laughed. "Maybe there's more to the story. Maybe Skylar isn't as perfect as she seems." The room erupted. I saw Megan's expression fall. Someone across the table started recording. Chloe placed her hand gently over Logan's, her expression soft, supportive. Like this had all been practiced. Like this was the plan. "I knew something was off," Evelyn Carter muttered. "She always seemed a little calculating." "That child doesn't look like Logan at all," someone else said. "Poor guy," another voice added. "Raising someone else's daughter." They were laughing, all of them, at me, at my child, at a lie that was unfolding right in front of them and being accepted without question. Arya started crying. The noise, the tension, the unfamiliar energy in the room. She reached for me, her tiny hands trembling. I moved toward her immediately, but Victoria stepped into my path. "Maybe we should just ask directly," she said, her voice almost playful. "Who is the father, Skylar? Someone from that conference, a colleague? Or was it someone you met at the hotel?" Laughter broke out again, louder this time. Logan smirked. Actually smirked, while Chloe leaned in and whispered something to him that made him chuckle under his breath. 25 people. Watching. Judging. Believing every word. I picked up my daughter, pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, and then I smiled. Not the kind of smile you force to survive a moment. A real one. "Interesting theory, Victoria." I shifted Arya onto my hip, gently rubbing her back until her breathing steadied. The laughter didn't stop immediately, but something changed, something subtle. A few people noticed. I wasn't shaking, I wasn't crying, I wasn't breaking. I was calm. "That's quite a story you've all put together," I said, my voice clear and even, cutting cleanly through the noise. "A conference affair, a secret lover, a child who doesn't belong." I adjusted my hold on Arya, then slowly, I reached for my purse. "Since we're discussing secrets..." Victoria's smile flickered. "What are you doing?" "Oh, nothing dramatic," I said lightly, "just joining the conversation." I unzipped my bag, deliberately unhurried. "Funny thing, Logan," I added, glancing at him. "You mentioned that Boston trip. You were so supportive at the time, drove me to the airport, kissed me goodbye." His expression shifted slightly. "Where are you going with this?" "My point?" I placed my phone gently on the table. "My point is, it's interesting how quickly you've embraced this narrative, almost like you were guided there." Chloe shifted in her seat. Victoria's face tightened. "How dare you?" "I'm not accusing anyone," I said calmly. My hand slipped deeper into my bag, fingers brushing against the envelope I had kept there, waiting. "I'm just noticing," I continued, "that this feels very coordinated, very intentional." The room quieted. Not completely, but enough. The kind of silence that comes right before everything shifts. Richard leaned forward slightly. "Skylar, what exactly are you saying?" I pulled the envelope out, held it in my hand for just a second. "Something," I said simply. "Something I think everyone here deserves to see." Victoria's eyes locked onto it instantly. For the first time that evening, she looked unsure. I walked slowly around the table. Arya rested against my shoulder, her fingers playing with my necklace, completely unaware of what was about to happen. I stopped right in front of Victoria, close enough that she had to look up at me. "You know," I said softly, almost conversationally, "you were right about one thing." She didn't respond. "Secrets destroy families," I continued. "They break trust. They ruin lives." I placed the envelope down in front of her, gently, but with purpose. "That's why I prefer everything to be out in the open." She stared at it, like it might explode. "What is this?" "Go ahead," I said. "Open it." "I don't need to." I let out a small breath, then turned slightly, addressing the entire room. "Since we're sharing theories about my character, my loyalty, my child, I think it's only fair that we share the truth as well." My voice sharpened just enough. "You've already accused me of infidelity in front of everyone here. The least you can do is open an envelope." Logan pushed his chair back. "This is ridiculous. Sit down." I didn't raise my voice, but it carried, and something in it made him stop. "Your mother started this," I said calmly. "She can finish it." Chloe reached toward the envelope. "Maybe I should..." "No." I moved it out of her reach without hesitation. "This doesn't involve you." I met Victoria's eyes again. "This is between you and me." Then I glanced around the room, and everyone you invited to watch me be humiliated. The room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. Even the waitstaff had stopped moving, frozen near the doors with dessert trays in their hands, unsure if they should stay or disappear. Victoria's fingers trembled as she picked up the envelope. "This proves nothing," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Then you have nothing to be afraid of," I replied softly. My smile widened just slightly. Unless you already know what's inside. Unless you've spent the last 3 months wondering when I would find out about your plan. The color drained from her face. What plan? Open it, Victoria. Her hands shook as she broke the seal. The sound of paper tearing seemed unnaturally loud in the stillness of the ballroom. She pulled out the contents slowly. Several pages, official documents, photographs, and as her eyes moved across the first page, her expression changed. Red, then pale, then something closer to gray. Her lips parted, but no sound came out at first. Then finally, a whisper. What is this? I tilted my head slightly. Why don't you read it out loud? I said, my tone calm, almost pleasant. You seemed very comfortable sharing your version of events. Go ahead, share this one too. Logan suddenly lunged forward. Mom, don't! But Richard was faster. He stepped in, pulling the papers from Victoria's unsteady grip before Logan could reach them. His eyes scanned the first page, and something in his face hardened. DNA paternity test results, he read aloud. The room leaned in. Alleged father, Logan Carlisle. Child, Aria Carlisle. Probability of paternity. He stopped. His voice cracked slightly as he finished. 99.99%. A wave of gasps rippled through the room. Megan let out a small clap before quickly stopping herself. Logan's face went completely pale. That's fake, Chloe said quickly, her voice unsteady. It has to be. Page 2, I said calmly. Richard turned the page. Certification from Massachusetts General Hospital. Chain of custody documentation. Video verified sample collection. I folded my arms loosely. There's also a time-stamped recording of Logan providing his sample, I added. He believed it was part of a routine medical screening form for a life insurance application he never completed. He signed it without reading. Richard kept reading, his voice tightening with anger. What is this? He said, flipping another page. Screenshots of text messages. His eyes lifted toward Victoria. You wrote $750,000 upon divorce finalization. The room erupted. Chairs scraped loudly across the floor. Voices overlapped, shocked, confused, angry. You tried to buy your son's divorce? Evelyn Carter said, her voice filled with disbelief. And I wasn't done yet. Keep going, I said evenly. Page 4 is where it gets interesting. Victoria tried to stand. Her legs gave out beneath her. She collapsed back into her chair, shaking. Richard lifted the DNA report slightly, the official seal catching the chandelier light. Laboratory Director, Dr. Hannah Brooks, he read. This is one of the most respected genetic specialists in the country. It's fake, Logan snapped, his face flushed red. Skylar must have what? I asked, my voice calm, almost curious. I stepped a little closer. Forged a document from Massachusetts General? Replicated Dr. Brooks's signature? Fabricated a full video record of you providing a DNA sample 3 months ago? He opened his mouth, closed it, said nothing. Chloe slowly pushed her chair back, creating distance between them. But there's more, Richard continued, his voice now shaking with controlled fury. Email threads between Victoria and Diane Bennett, coordinated meetings, financial transfers into an escrow account. He looked at his wife like he didn't recognize her. You orchestrated all of this, he said. You planned to destroy Skylar's reputation so Logan could leave his family and align with Chloe. That child doesn't look like him, Victoria shouted, desperation cracking through her voice. The blue eyes come from my grandmother, I said, pulling out my phone. I unlocked it and held up a photo. Here she is, and if anyone is still confused, Dr. Brooks included a full genetic breakdown. I swiped to another document. There's even a chart showing the probability of blue eyes when a grandparent carries the gene. About 25%. Basic genetics. I looked directly at Victoria. Something you could have researched, instead of building an entire scheme around ignorance. The silence shattered. Voices collided. Accusations rising all at once. No one was quiet anymore. Phones were out now, recording everything. Someone near the back was already uploading clips. This can't be legal, Chloe said under her breath. Running a DNA test without consent. Page 6, I replied lightly. Richard flipped again. Signed consent form, he read. Logan Carlyle. I gave a small shrug. He really should start reading what he signs. Wait, Richard said, his voice dropping lower, more dangerous. He held up another page. There's a message here. From you, Victoria. Dated 3 months ago. He read it slowly. The transfer will be completed once the divorce is finalized. The Bennett family will match the amount. Total, $1.5 million for your fresh start together. The room exploded, $1.5 million. Several people raised their phones higher, recording everything. Victoria's social circle began stepping away from her one by one, like distance alone could separate them from what she had done. 1.5 million? Someone whispered. To walk away from his wife and child? Richard continued reading, each word landing harder than the last. And here, create doubt about the baby during the birthday event. Public humiliation will make the divorce easier. She won't fight if she's ashamed. Megan stood up abruptly, her voice shaking. You planned this? You planned to humiliate Skylar at her own child's birthday party? It's out of context, Victoria shouted, but the strength was gone from her voice. What context? Richard roared. What possible explanation makes this acceptable? You tried to destroy your own family for money. Chloe suddenly stood. Her face had gone pale. I didn't know about this, she said quickly. The money. The plan. My mother told me Logan was already unhappy, that the marriage was over. Then she looked at him. Really looked at him. You were going to take money to leave your child? Chloe, wait! Logan reached for her. She pulled away immediately. This is insane, she said, backing toward the exit. I didn't agree to any of this. I was told Skylar had cheated, that everything was already falling apart. She froze. You could see it in her eyes, the moment everything finally connected. Oh my God, Chloe whispered, her voice barely holding together. It was all lies. Chloe, Victoria called after her, but Chloe was already stepping back, grabbing her purse with trembling hands. I'm done, she said, shaking her head. This is disgusting. Then she looked at me, really looked at me. I'm sorry, I didn't know. And just like that, she turned and walked out, her heels striking sharply against the marble floor, each step echoing through the stunned silence she left behind. If you've ever been in a moment like this, you already know how this feels. Now let me show you what happened next. An expert. I picked up my phone. Already open. Already ready. Since some people still seem to have doubts, I said calmly, I thought it would be helpful to hear from someone qualified. I tapped the screen. The call connected almost instantly. Within seconds, Dr. Hannah Brooks appeared on video. I turned the phone outward so everyone could see. Good evening, she said, her voice steady, professional. I'm Dr. Hannah Brooks, Director of Genetics at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. I understand there are questions regarding a paternity test I personally supervised. This is staged, Victoria croaked weakly. No one even turned to look at her. Victoria Carlyle, Dr. Brooks continued, addressing her directly. I want to be absolutely clear. I oversaw every step of this process. The chain of custody was maintained at all times. All samples were collected and processed under controlled, recorded conditions. She paused briefly. The results are scientifically conclusive. But the eyes, someone called out. The blue eyes. Dr. Brooks gave a small, knowing smile. I anticipated that question. She lifted a chart into view. Blue eyes are a recessive trait. When a grandparent carries the gene, there is approximately a 25% chance it will appear in the grandchild, even if both parents have brown eyes. This is basic genetic recombination. She lowered the chart slightly. In addition, I reviewed multiple generations of family photographs. Aria shows clear structural similarities to her father. Nasal shape, ear formation, hairline pattern. The resemblance is quite strong once you look beyond eye color. Richard stepped forward. Dr. Brooks, is there any chance this result is incorrect? Her answer came without hesitation. Less than 0.01%. Statistically speaking, it is far more likely to win the lottery multiple times than for this result to be wrong. Arya Carlyle is, without any scientific doubt, Logan Carlyle's biological daughter. Silence followed. Heavy. Final. Victoria looked like she might collapse. Logan sat there, his head in his hands, unable to even look up. I lowered the phone slowly, and they still hadn't seen everything. "There's one more voice that needs to be heard," I said, switching apps. I pressed call. The room filled with the sound of ringing. Then a calm, professional voice answered. "This is Lauren Hayes, attorney at law. Am I on speaker, Skylar?" "You are," I said. "Everyone can hear you." "Good evening," she continued. "I represent Mrs. Skylar Carlyle, and I want to make something very clear, especially to you, Victoria Carlyle." Her tone sharpened. Precise, controlled, dangerous. "What occurred tonight constitutes defamation of character, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and conspiracy to commit fraud." A man near the table stood up abruptly. "Victor Langford. Now hold on." "Are you representing Skylar Carlyle?" Lauren asked, cutting him off. No." "Then please sit down." The authority in her voice was absolute. "Victoria," she continued, "you publicly accused my client of infidelity and fraud in front of multiple witnesses. We have video documentation of the entire incident. The damages are substantial and measurable. Reputational harm, emotional distress, and professional impact." "You can't sue me," Victoria snapped. "We're family." "Family members can absolutely pursue legal action for defamation," Lauren replied evenly, "especially when malicious intent is clearly documented. And based on the evidence we have, your intent is undeniable." Logan stood up slowly, his voice unsteady. "This is getting out of control." "And Mr. Carlyle," Lauren said, her tone turning cold, "you participated in this defamation. You are equally liable. The only reason my client has not initiated immediate legal proceedings is because you are the father of her child. That consideration is not unlimited." No one spoke. A few guests had already begun edging toward the exit, quietly removing themselves from what was now clearly a legal disaster. "My client has terms," Lauren continued, "and I strongly advise you to listen carefully." But before she could continue, the ballroom doors slammed open. Everyone turned. Chloe stood in the doorway. Her composure was gone. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. But she wasn't alone. Diane Bennett stepped in beside her, her expression furious. $1.5 million? Diane's voice cut across the room. "Victoria, you promised my family $1.5 million to destroy a marriage?" Victoria tried to stand again. "Diane, I can explain." "Explain," Diane laughed bitterly. "Explain how you used my daughter as leverage, how you dragged our name into something like this?" She turned to the room. "For the record, we knew nothing about this arrangement. Chloe was told the marriage was already over, that Skylar had been unfaithful." Her voice hardened. "We were lied to." Chloe stepped forward, her hands trembling. "I'm done," she said. "Logan, you're pathetic." She looked at him with pure disgust. "A man who would sell his own family for money? I wouldn't marry you if you were the last man alive." "Chloe, please." He reached for her. She slapped his hand away. "Don't touch me," she said sharply. "You sat there and let your wife be humiliated. You laughed while your mother destroyed her." Her eyes flicked to me and softened. "Skylar, I'm sorry. I was told you were the problem." She shook her head. "I know better now." Diane pulled out her phone. "Victoria, I'm contacting my legal team," she said coldly. "Our partnership is terminated immediately, and if my family's name is damaged because of this, we will take everything you have." They left together. They. Chloe's heels struck sharply against the marble, fast, uneven. Her mother's arm wrapped tightly around her shoulders. The doors slammed behind them. And just like that, something in the room collapsed with it. Victoria sank back into her chair. Not gracefully, not controlled. She just dropped. Like everything she had built, everything she believed she controlled, was slipping through her hands all at once. The silence that followed was heavy, uncomfortable. until a chair scraped loudly against the floor. Richard stood, slowly, and for the first time in the 10 years I had known him, he looked different. Not quiet, not passive, not the man who sat silently through Victoria's constant criticisms. This was someone else, someone who had finally decided he was done. 40 years, he said, his voice carrying across the room. 40 years I've stayed silent. 40 years I've let you run everything, Victoria. Control everything. Destroy everything you touch. Richard, don't, she whispered weakly. Enough. His voice cracked like thunder. For once in your life, be quiet. The entire room flinched. He turned to the guests. You all want the truth? He said. Here it is. He took a breath. This isn't the first time she's done something like this. 30 years ago, she drove away Logan's college girlfriend because the girl didn't come from money. 20 years ago, she interfered in my sister's marriage and nearly destroyed it because she didn't approve of her husband's politics. Gasps spread through the room. Logan looked stunned. Dad, what are you doing? I'm finished, son, Richard said, his voice steady now. Finished enabling her. Finished watching her tear people apart. Then he walked toward me, and to my complete surprise, he took my hand, gently. Skylar, he said, his voice softer now, but no less firm. You have been the best thing that ever happened to my son. You gave us Arya. You endured years of disrespect with more grace than anyone should have to. He paused. And tonight, you showed more strength than I've had in 40 years. He turned back to Victoria. I've already spoken to a lawyer, he said. The paperwork is in my car. 40 years is enough. Her breath caught. You're not serious. I am. Then he looked around the room. I stand with Skylar. Completely. If anyone here has a problem with that, you're free to leave. 3 of Victoria's closest friends immediately stood, gathered their things, and walked out without a word. I remained where I was, in the center of the room. Arya asleep against my shoulder, her breathing soft and steady, completely untouched by the storm that had just unfolded. My voice, when I spoke, was calm, controlled, the voice of someone who already knew how this ended. Here are my terms. I looked at Victoria, then at Logan. First, you both apologize. Not privately, not later, right now, in front of everyone you chose to humiliate me in front of. I won't, Victoria began. Then I call the police. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Conspiracy to commit fraud is a criminal offense, I continued. And the evidence is more than enough. Lauren's voice came through the phone. She's correct. Based on the documentation presented, criminal charges would be fully supported. Victoria's face crumpled. She looked around, searching for someone to stand with her. No one did. Second, I continued, you will have no unsupervised contact with Arya for 6 months. After that, supervised visits only, and only if I decide you've earned that privilege. You can't keep me from my granddaughter, she said weakly. I can, and I will. My voice didn't waver. You questioned her identity. You tried to destroy her family for money. You lost the right to be trusted around her. Then I turned to Logan. And you. He looked at me like he already knew what was coming. We're going to counseling, I said. Individual and couples, intensive. You will attend every session. You will do the work. I held his gaze. And from this point forward, there is full financial transparency, separate accounts, shared oversight, no more hidden transfers, no more quiet arrangements. He nodded, slowly, like a man who had just realized exactly how much he had lost. Third, I said, looking between both of them, if either of you ever speaks about me the way you did tonight, to anyone, I let the silence sit for a second. Everything goes public. I didn't need to explain what everything meant. The messages, the recordings, the transactions, all of it. Victoria let out a bitter breath. That's blackmail. No, Lauren said calmly through the phone. That's accountability. And that was it. That was the moment it finally hit her. The weight of everything. Victoria's posture broke. Her shoulders collapsed inward, her perfect image gone. She dropped to her knees. Actually dropped. Her legs simply gave out beneath her. "I'm sorry," she whispered at first. So quiet, people leaned in just to hear it. Then louder. "I'm sorry, Skylar. I'm so sorry." The room held its breath. This wasn't the woman anyone in that room recognized. This wasn't control. This was the moment everything finally broke. "I was wrong," she continued, her voice breaking. "I needed control. I needed everything to follow the life I designed. The future I chose for Logan." Tears streaked down her face. "But you loved him, truly loved him. And you gave him Arya. And I tried to destroy that because I couldn't control it." She turned slightly toward the room. "I lied," she said. "I falsely accused my daughter-in-law of infidelity. I knew Arya was Logan's child. I knew Skylar was faithful." Her voice shook. "I did it because I wanted him to marry someone else. For money, for status." She swallowed hard. "I conspired with my own son. I offered him money to leave his wife and child." Her voice cracked completely. "I am a terrible person." She looked at Arya, still asleep in my arms. "That child is my granddaughter, and I nearly destroyed her family because of my own greed." Richard stood there, silent, watching the woman he had spent 40 years with finally tell the truth. This was the moment everything changed. "If you were in my position, would you forgive him, or would you walk away? Type, I want to know what you would do, and tell me where you're watching from. Morning, afternoon, or night. I'm always curious. Now, let me tell you what Logan did next." He stood there for a long time, looking at his mother on the floor, then at me, then at his daughter, and something in his face shifted, like a man waking up, realizing exactly what he had almost lost. He walked toward me slowly. Each step felt deliberate, heavy, and then he did something I never expected. He dropped to his knees, right there in front of everyone, not touching me, not reaching for me, just kneeling, tears running down his face. "Skylar," his voice broke. "I don't deserve forgiveness, I know that." He swallowed hard, struggling to steady himself. "I betrayed you in the worst way possible, not just in private, but in front of everyone. I laughed while my mother tried to destroy you." His hands trembled slightly. "I questioned our daughter's paternity when I knew." He shook his head, voice cracking. "God, I always knew she was mine." For the first time in months, I saw him. Not the man who sat across from me at dinner, not the man who avoided my eyes, the man I married. "I let her poison me," he continued. "The money, the promises, the comparisons to Chloe. I let all of it get inside my head." His eyes met mine, and I turned against the best thing in my life. You, Arya, our family. Then he turned to face the room. "Everyone here, you need to hear this. Skylar never cheated, never lied. She has done nothing but love me and our daughter." His voice steadied just enough. "I'm the one who failed. I broke my vows, not physically, but in every way that actually matters. I failed to protect her. I failed to stand beside her." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, held it up. "Mom, I'm done." His fingers moved quickly across the screen. The accounts, the emails, the messages, everything connected to this gone. And he did it right there, in front of everyone, deleting one thread after another. Contacts, messages, records, gone. "I choose my family," he said quietly, looking back at me. "I choose you. I choose Arya." His voice dropped. "I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, counseling, earning it back for the rest of my life. I don't care how long it takes." A pause. "Just give me one chance to become the man you thought you married." Within 12 hours, the video was everywhere. Mother-in-law's $1 million scheme exposed at baby's birthday hit over 3 million views before Monday morning. Victoria's face, the moment she opened the envelope, became a meme. When your plan backfires. It spread faster than anything I had ever seen. But the real consequences came fast. By Tuesday, Victoria had lost 3 major real estate deals worth over $2 million. Her membership at Westchester Country Club was revoked. The charity board she had chaired for 15 years asked for her resignation immediately. "I've become untouchable," she told Richard when he served her with divorce papers. He had checked into a hotel the night of the party and never went back. The Bennett family moved fast. Diane Bennett went on local news, publicly cutting ties. "We had no knowledge of this," she stated firmly. "We were misled. We would never participate in breaking up a family." Chloe disappeared from that world just as quickly. Later, I heard she had started dating a doctor in Boston. Someone said she told her friends she had walked away from a disaster. But the most unexpected part was what came after. 13 women reached out to me, privately. All of them had stories: a cousin whose wedding Victoria had nearly destroyed, a neighbor whose reputation had been ruined over a property dispute, Logan's former girlfriend, now a surgeon, who thanked me for finally exposing the truth. We started meeting, coffee, once a week, sharing, healing. "You did what none of us could," Richard's sister told me one afternoon. "You didn't just stand up to her, you ended her power." She paused. "And you did it with proof, not emotion." Logan started therapy 3 days after the party. Not couples therapy. I wasn't ready for that. But intensive individual sessions with Dr. Kevin Moore, a specialist in family conditioning and control dynamics. "I didn't understand how deep it went," he told me after his 5th session. We were sitting across from each other at the kitchen table, Arya asleep in the next room. We weren't living like a couple anymore. Separate rooms, scheduled parenting time, meals apart. "Dr. Moore says I was trained to prioritize her approval above everything else," he said quietly. "Even above my own family." I watched him carefully. "And now?" He exhaled. "I see it now. The patterns, the control, the way she shaped everything." He looked tired, but clearer. "I'm 34, and I'm just now learning how to think for myself." The changes were slow, but real. He stopped answering Victoria's calls, even before the restraining order, which we eventually had to file. He opened new bank accounts, cut financial ties, started writing letters in therapy he never sent. "I dream about that night," he admitted once. "The moment I laughed at you. I wake up sick thinking about it." His voice dropped. "I chose her over you, over Arya." I didn't forgive him, not then, because trust like that doesn't come back quickly. But I watched him try, not with words, with work. "I don't know if we'll make it," I told him honestly, "but I'm willing to see if you can become someone I can trust again." We moved. Not far, just far enough to step out of her reach, without leaving our lives behind. To a smaller house in Greenwich. No family money, no shared control. Just us. Richard helped us move. He was different now. Lighter. Like something heavy had finally been taken off his shoulders. "I should have protected you," he told me while putting together Arya's crib. "I failed both of you by staying silent." "You're not silent anymore," I said. "That matters." And then, we set the rules, real rules. The kind that would have been impossible before. Boundaries. No visits without at least 48 hours notice, and only with my explicit permission. No financial gifts, no investments. Nothing involving money unless both of us agreed in writing. No unsolicited advice about parenting. Not a single comment. No mentions of Chloe. No comparisons. No better options. And if any of those rules were broken, 6 months of no contact. Immediately. No discussion. No exceptions. Richard followed every single rule. Exactly. He showed up when he was invited. Never early, never late. He didn't overstay, didn't interfere, he just showed up as a grandfather, reading to Arya, sitting on the floor building blocks, taking her to the park, no agenda, no control, just presence. I missed this with Logan, he admitted one afternoon, watching Arya chase Bubbles across the yard, her laughter light and unguarded. I let Victoria control everything, his lessons, his friends, even what he wore. I was there, but I wasn't really there. He shook his head slightly. I won't make that mistake again. The rest of the family shifted too. Some chose Victoria's side. They cut contact. That was fine. We didn't need them. Others, especially those who had been at the birthday party, reached out. Quiet messages, apologies, acknowledgments. We always knew she was difficult, one of Logan's aunts admitted. We just didn't think anyone could ever stop her. Someone did. 6 months later, a letter arrived. Not a text, not an email she could deny or twist. A handwritten letter, delivered through her lawyer. I read it alone first, then again with my therapist. Only later did I show parts of it to Logan. Dear Skylar, I am writing to you from a treatment facility in Scottsdale, Arizona. After losing everything, my marriage, my reputation, my family, I finally sought help. My therapist has diagnosed me with narcissistic personality disorder with controlling behavioral patterns. This is not an excuse, it is an explanation. I destroyed everything because I could not tolerate not being in control. I see now how I shaped Logan from childhood, how I made him dependent on my approval, how I conditioned him to prioritize me over everything else. I also see how I projected my own marriage onto yours. Richard married me for money. I always knew that. And I could not accept watching Logan choose love over status. You were everything I was not. You loved him without conditions. You were independent. You did not need the Carlyle name or money. You simply loved my son, and that terrified me, because it meant I had no power over you. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I want you to know that I am in intensive therapy. I have been for 4 months, and I will continue. I have liquidated a portion of my assets to establish an irrevocable education trust for Arya. It is entirely under your control. No conditions, no influence from me. It is the only apology I can offer that might hold meaning. If you ever decide to allow supervised contact, I will follow any condition you set. I understand if that day never comes, but I hope, one day, I might become someone safe enough to be part of her life. With sincere remorse, Victoria. I sat there for a long time after finishing it. Not angry, not relieved, just uncertain. Because healing isn't just for the ones who were hurt. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't before. This was never really about revenge, not even about justice. It was about preparation and dignity. Every woman who has reached out to me since asks the same question. How did you stay so calm? The answer is simple. I knew my worth before they tried to take it from me. Your dignity is not negotiable. That's what I tell them. It doesn't matter who it is, a mother-in-law, a husband, a boss, a friend. No one has the right to humiliate you, to question your character, to make you feel small. And when they try, you don't have to break, you don't have to scream, you just have to stand in your truth and be ready to prove it. But I learned something else too. Boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They open. When it's safe, they close. When it's not. Richard earned his way back through consistency, through respect. Victoria is in therapy, doing the work. And Logan, he's changing. Slowly. Maybe becoming who he could have been all along, without her influence. The DNA test was never about proving Arya was his. I always knew that. It was about forcing the truth into the light, turning whispers into facts, turning their weapon back on them. They expected me to cry, to beg, to disappear. Instead, I stood there with evidence in my hand and a lawyer ready. Some people called that cold. I call it survival. Because when someone tries to destroy you in public, you answer in public. When they use your child as leverage, You protect that child with truth. When they try to buy your family, you show the world exactly what price they put on love. Logan is not the man he was that night. 18 months of therapy, individual and together, changed him. Not perfectly, but genuinely. Trust doesn't come back all at once. It's more like something that healed, but never the same. You can function again, but you always know where the fracture was. I still check your phone, I told him recently. Every few days. I know, he said simply. I leave it open. We have separate accounts now, mine, his, and one shared account for the house. Every expense over $100 gets discussed. It might sound strict, but it isn't. It's freedom. No more secrets. No hidden transfers to Victoria. No quiet investments arranged behind my back. Nothing that I don't know about. If she reaches out, Logan tells me, every time, screenshots, messages, even the smallest contact, he shows me. It barely happens now. Most communication goes through lawyers. And if anyone even mentions Chloe, I hear about it immediately. Once his cousin suggested we were being too harsh on Victoria. I didn't even know the conversation happened. Logan shut it down on the spot. My mother tried to destroy my family for money, he told him. She lives with the consequences of that. That's who he is now, the man who once needed her approval for everything, now makes decisions based on one question. Is this good for Skylar and Arya? Not perfect decisions. He's still learning, still unlearning, but they're conscious, intentional. I'm different, he told me during our last session, but I'm not fixed. I don't think people ever fully fix this kind of damage. He paused. You just learn to see it, manage it, and choose differently. I still keep my lawyer's number saved, not because I'm planning to use it, but because I will never be unprepared again. That's the difference now. I'm not the woman who trusted blindly anymore. I'm the woman with evidence, with documentation, with a reputation, the kind that makes people think twice before coming for my family. Arya is 3 now, running through our home with the kind of confidence only a loved child has. She never questions where she belongs, never doubts that she's wanted. Her blue eyes, my grandmother's eyes, light up every time she laughs. And she laughs a lot. She doesn't remember that night. And if I have any say in it, she never will. Sometimes I watch her play, and I think about the life that was almost taken from her. A broken home. A father who chose money over love. A mother reduced to a lie. Instead, she has parents who are trying every single day. She has Richard, steady, present, respectful, and she even has a future secured by a trust Victoria can never touch. Because I control it, completely. Mama's strong, she said yesterday, flexing her tiny arms after watching me move a chair across the room. Such a small sentence. But it broke me. In the best way. Yes, baby. Mama is strong. Mama stood in a room full of people who tried to destroy her, and didn't break. Mama had proof. Mama had preparation. Mama had a backbone they never saw coming. But more than anything, Mama had boundaries, still has them, always will. That video from the birthday, it still circulates. People share it like a warning. Don't underestimate quiet people, someone wrote recently. They're not weak, they're documenting everything. Victoria watches it too. Her therapist told me she uses it during sessions, to confront what she did, to face the moment everything fell apart. I hope it helps her. I really do. I hope one day she becomes someone safe enough for Arya to know. But that day isn't today, and it might not be for a long time. Right now, my daughter grows up in a home built on something simple: love, safety, and the certainty that her mother will protect her from anyone who tries to dim her light, even family, especially family. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this: your silence will never protect you the way your truth will. For a long time, I thought keeping peace meant staying quiet, smiling through disrespect, hoping things would change if I just endured a little longer. But silence doesn't stop cruelty, it gives it room to grow. The moment I chose to prepare instead of plead, everything shifted. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You need to be clear. Clear about your worth, clear about your boundaries, and clear about what you will no longer tolerate. Because the people who try to break you often rely on one thing: you doubting yourself. So don't. Document what matters. Protect what matters. And when the moment comes, stand in your truth without apology, not for revenge, not for validation, but for dignity. Because once you understand that your peace is something you decide, not something others grant you, no one can ever take it from you again. If this story stayed with you, if even a small part of it felt familiar, take a second to support it. Like the video so more people who need this message can find it. I read them, and more importantly, someone out there might read your words and feel less alone. If you know someone who's struggling to set boundaries, send this to them. Sometimes one story is enough to change how someone sees their own life. And if you believe in choosing dignity over silence, in protecting your peace no matter, there are more stories coming. Stories about strength, truth, and the quiet power of knowing your worth.